World War II, fought from 1939 to 1945, remains one of the deadliest and most transformative events in human history. It was not just a clash of armies, it was a struggle between tyranny and freedom, between domination and survival, and it reshaped the world forever. The seeds of the Second World War were planted in the aftermath of the First World War. The Treaty of Versailles had humiliated Germany, forcing it to accept full blame for the previous war and pay massive reparations. The country faced economic ruin, hunger, and despair. Amid this chaos rose a man named Adolf Hitler, leader of the Nazi Party, who promised to restore Germany's lost glory. His fiery speeches, nationalist ideas, and ruthless vision of a pure race soon turned him into a dictator. In 1939, Hitler invaded Poland, defying all international warnings. Britain and France declared war on Germany, and the Second World War officially began. Within months, Hitler's blitzkrieg or lightning war strategy conquered Poland, Denmark, Norway, Belgium, and France. By 1940, most of Western Europe was under Nazi control. Only one nation stood in defiance: Great Britain. The Battle of Britain was fought in the skies, as Hitler's Luftwaffe launched devastating air raids on British cities. But under the leadership of Winston Churchill, the British refused to surrender. Churchill's immortal words, "We shall never surrender," became a symbol of courage and hope. Meanwhile, in the East, two more powers rose to support Hitler's ambition. Benito Mussolini of Italy dreamed of reviving the Roman Empire, while Japan, led by Emperor Hirohito and its military generals, sought to dominate Asia and the Pacific. Together, they formed the Axis powers, threatening world peace. In 1941, Hitler made one of his greatest mistakes. He invaded the Soviet Union, breaking a non-aggression pact with Joseph Stalin. Millions of soldiers marched into the vast Russian lands, expecting a quick victory. But the brutal winter, fierce Soviet resistance, and immense casualties turned the campaign into a nightmare. The Battle of Stalingrad became a turning point. It broke the myth of German invincibility. The same year, far across the Pacific, Japan launched a shocking surprise attack on Pearl Harbor in Hawaii on December 7, 1941. American battleships were destroyed, thousands were killed, and the United States could no longer stay out of the war. The very next day, America, under President Franklin D. Roosevelt, declared war on Japan and joined the Allied powers. From this point, the war became truly global. Battles were fought across Europe, Africa, and Asia. The Allies began pushing back. In North Africa, British and American forces defeated the German General Erwin Rommel, known as the Desert Fox. In the Pacific, the United States won the crucial Battle of Midway, crippling Japan's navy and turning the tide of war. In 1944, the Allies launched the most daring operation in military history, Operation Overlord, or D-Day. On June 6, 1944, thousands of Allied soldiers stormed the beaches of Normandy, France, facing fierce German defenses. It was a day of immense courage, sacrifice, and blood. But the Allies broke through, liberating France and marching toward Germany. By early 1945, Hitler's empire was collapsing. The Soviet army closed in from the east and the Allies from the west. As Berlin fell into ruin, Hitler refused to surrender. On April 30, 1945, he took his own life in a bunker beneath the city. A week later, Germany surrendered unconditionally. May 8, 1945, became Victory in Europe Day, VE Day. But the war was not over yet. In the Pacific, Japan continued to fight desperately. American forces captured island after island, but Japan refused to surrender. The cost in lives was rising every day. To end the war quickly, the United States made a horrifying decision: to use a new weapon that had never been used before, the atomic bomb. On August 6, 1945, an atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. The explosion flattened the city and killed over 100,000 people instantly. 3 days later, another bomb hit Nagasaki, causing unimaginable destruction. With its cities reduced to ashes and millions dead, Japan finally surrendered on August 15, 1945, marking the official end of World War II. The world emerged from the war in ruins. Over 70 million people had lost their lives. Cities were destroyed. economies shattered, and entire nations left in grief. But perhaps the most horrifying revelation came with the discovery of Nazi concentration camps. The Holocaust had claimed the lives of 6 million Jews and millions of others, men, women, and children, murdered in cold blood. It was one of humanity's darkest chapters. After the war, the world sought peace. The United Nations was established in 1945 to prevent such horrors from happening again. Germany was divided into East and West, Japan was occupied by Allied forces, and Europe began a long process of rebuilding. Yet a new tension soon arose, the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union, marking a new era of global rivalry. World War II changed everything. It ended colonial empires, gave birth to new nations, and redefined global power. It brought technological advancements, but also left behind moral questions that haunt humanity to this day. The war was not only a test of strength, but a test of conscience. It showed how hate can destroy nations, and how courage, unity, and hope can rebuild them. The soldiers who fought, the civilians who endured, and the millions who perished all became part of a story that reshaped our world forever. World War II was more than a conflict of weapons. It was a battle for the soul of humanity. Its lessons still echo through history, reminding us that peace is never free, and the true victory lies not in conquest, but in compassion.